So I am here today with Adam and Sharon, who we know at the MS Trust from an Instagram account that's called Me, You and Multiple Sclerosis. Thank you both for coming on.
Hi.
Before we start, could I just ask you a little bit both who you are, and maybe you can tell us a bit of your MS journey so far?
Okay, my name is Adam. I'm 46, soon to be 47, and everything was going swim. I was a graphic designer. Everything was going swimmingly in life. It was the whole sort of the Western ideal of life, if you know what I mean. The house, the kids, the wife, and all that kind of stuff. And then one day, I woke up and my life had changed forever. I couldn't stand up. I couldn't do anything, and ever since then my life has just been about MS. Or it's not been about MS, it's been about how to live with MS. And it's taken me a long time to get there, but I think I'm there. I think I got there, and I couldn't do it without this woman. Seriously.
And Sharon, who are you?
Well, I'll jump in and say who are you?
That's my wife, by the way.
But yeah, I'm Sharon. I'm Adam's wife. At the time of diagnosis, we were a very normal family. We were both at work. MS came along and just changed all of that. And yeah, it's been a journey.
Yeah, it came along. It came along and shattered everything.
Yeah,
it really did.
When was this? When was it that you first started having symptoms, or when you couldn't stand up?
I can't remember. This is terrible because everybody always seems to remember their date, but I can't. I feel terrible because I can't. It was about 2011, 12 maybe.
Okay.
Possibly 2013. I can't really remember. It's a bit very vague. I'm sorry.
That's all right. What was when you went to the doctor? Was it a fairly sort of straightforward diagnosis, or did you have to wait?
No, I had to wait about two and a half years for a diagnosis, and I was made to feel like a hypochondriac. I made to feel like it was all in my head. There was nothing wrong. I would go back to the doctor. There would always be a different symptom that I would go to the doctor with. The worst one, when I could hardly walk in, and Sharon was saying, right, they must.
They'll see.
They'll see something now, and that was the time where I was told you might just be heavily constipated. Okay. And I was. So we kept going to the hospital, a local hospital, and everything was just the same. Just everything was repeating. It's all in your head, all that kind of stuff. There's nothing here. We'll keep you in for the night, but we'll monitor you. And then we went to another. I was going to say hotel. We went to another hospital, and the minute I walked in there, the guy looked at me and said, "I think you've got MS." And from that moment on,
it changed.
It just changed. It was. And when the neurologist actually said, "I think you've got MS," I actually went, "Oh yes." And he went, "You know what MS is, don't you?" And I went, "Yeah, but it's not cancer or motor neuron disease." That's what I was really fearful of. So from the moment we knew what we were dealing with, or what we could possibly be dealing with, because I wasn't obviously diagnosed then, life has just got better and better and better. When you know what you're dealing with, it's easy.
Start to tweak.
And I don't mean it's easy. I just mean it's easy to get on with what you're doing because you know.
Yeah.
And it's a big difference when actually the health professional acknowledges that there is something wrong, and this is not just in your head.
Yeah.
If I can just jump in, so the year was a lot of the detail sometimes is where Adam forgets the sort of dates and things like that. So it was about 2011, and the very, very first thing was Paris. We went to Paris on a trip, and Adam couldn't go up the stairs to the top of the Eiffel Tower, which at the time was a bit like gosh, are you that unfit?
Yeah, I was like 5 or 10 steps, and then it was really like, oh, I can't do this.
That was a very starting point, and then, like you said, we came back, and he just continued to be unwell for. It wasn't quite as long as 2.5 years, but it was about 1.5 years. He continued to be quite unwell.
Yeah.
And just like I called it man flu, really, because it just seems like he was in bed and he was tired and all man flu, really.
Yeah.
Is the way I would describe it. And so that went on for a long, long time. And the part about going to the doctor and the hospital, that was almost a week in, week out for all of that 18 months. And like Adam said, it was just a change in hospital one night where the doctor said, I think you've got MS, and that's a sort of very short version of
And I think to be honest, if the roles were reversed, I would probably I've said the same thing to you, like, this, come on, pull yourself together. This is, no one's found anything, there's nothing wrong with you, come on.
Yeah. I mean, certainly when Adam was finally diagnosed, because in that period of time, it's such a long period of time in a family for the dad to be unwell and in bed and not working. So it was getting every month. We were like, you're going to have to just pull yourself together and try and sort of push through.
Yeah.
And then I ended up, that's what I was saying to him after about 1 year, because I was thinking, well, you know, these doctors have seen you, so someone, if there was anything wrong, they would have found it by now. So you've got to just get on with it. And when he was actually diagnosed, and they said, do you mind if we bring in some students, you know, to discuss some things with you? They hadn't said at this point he had MS, so they literally filled the room with all these, you know, nurses and doctors and all. And they said to Adam,
first of all, before you say this, right, I'm not proud of this story at all. I mean, I was at the beginning, but
it's a funny story, though.
I'm sort of embarrassed by it now. But when you go, you can.
No, because it's real life, and it's really important. Because I had been saying, you know, you've got to keep pushing through. You've got to push through. There's nothing wrong. We've got to just keep going on it. So cut to the day where they're giving him his diagnosis, and they fill the room with all the students, because we're like, yeah, just bring everyone in, and said, you've got MS. And he said, oh my God, thank God. She's been telling me I've just got to keep pushing through for the last, and just keep going. And I was like, oh my, actually.
Everyone was like,
and obviously for MS, that's the worst thing you can do, is to just keep pushing through. And so the grounds could have opened up and swallowed me, you know, and I was just, and they all looked at me as if I was like this terrible, horrible wife.
Yeah, I could have walked out of that hospital a single man. I think it would have been justified.
It just was funny though, because I thought, oh my God, like, oh no. And I was like, oh, I didn't know. But yeah, that was very naive, obviously, way back then. And yeah, knowing now that that's like the absolute worst thing to do.
I've always said as well, and I don't know if there's many other people that think this, but when I was diagnosed, my first thought was, I want to go into my old work and tell them, I've got MS, I'm not lazy, I'm not that, I was ill.
I totally understand that part with because I think when I was in the process of being diagnosed, I had been feeling fatigued for quite a long time. And I remember going to the doctor and having some blood tests done. And they were like, congratulations, you're really healthy. And you're just like, but why am I this tired? Why am I this dragging on tiredness all the time? So yes, I fully understand that. You almost want like a certificate and go, look, this is why.
I wasn't lying.
Yeah. It's a really testing time though for us, that was a really, really testing time, because Adam was so unwell. I mean, he physically couldn't stand up. And every time I would take him to a hospital or a doctor, or I would think, right, this time they're definitely going to see, he can't stand up. Yeah. And they would maybe keep him in the hospital for the weekend and then sort of send him home again in the Monday. I'd go get him and bring him home on the Monday, and nothing would have changed. So for us in a relationship, it's a really testing time, because you obviously want to believe that your partner's unwell, but when you're hitting the 18-month stage and nothing's been, you know, and they've done somewhat tests, maybe not all of the tests, but they've started to look at some things. Yeah. You're then sort of right, you know, it puts a lot of pressure on your relationship.
If we never went to the other hospital,
we'd still be going.
I think things would have worked out differently. I don't think we'd be together. I think the MS might have taken a few more years to diagnose. I was just left in limbo.
Yes, a massive strain. But we're there now. We're there now.
That's the important part, isn't it?
Yeah.
So when you got the diagnosis initially, did they call it relapsing remitting MS then, or?
I can't really remember exactly what they said. I think they probably did, but they would have told. This is where I'm a little bit hazy.
The details of dates and things like that.
Yeah. It's quite. You've been through. It's quite an overwhelming.
Yeah, of course.
Thing to take in, and my memory is, obviously MS memory is terrible.
Yeah.
So I can't remember what happened yesterday. Never mind what happened on the day I was diagnosed. The only reason I know that the day I was diagnosed is because she said I was,
That's what it was. She said it was. So there was one. Yeah. No, we shouldn't even tell that story. No.
Why not?
Well, I'll just quickly tell you because it suspends them too much. It was just one day in that whole 18-month period we were walking across the footbridge, and it's awful now. He was actually holding on to the railings going along the bridge. And the strain of this had, like I said, been going on for so long, and we were having an argument at the time. And I said, "You actually look pathetic. You've got to get us together," because he was going along the bridge, And so and
that's what I said.
That's what I said in the room.
She said it was pathetic, which I totally like. That's what I'm saying. Like, I wish I could take it. I wish I could take it back. It was in a funny, but I still said it.
Yeah. Anyway,
I wish I didn't.
But the doctor did say relapsing remitting. Yes, you do remember that, don't you?
Yes.
And now you're sort of moving on a few more years. We've said 2011. So where are we now? I forgot what year it was for a second there.
2025.
2025 it is now.
Yeah.
And now they have said that you have moved to secondary progressive MS, have they?
Yeah, it was neurologist, and he was looking at, I think, the MRIs and stuff, and it was very nonchalant. It was very like, yeah, secondary progressive now, okay.
Oh.
And it was just sort of like skimmed over.
Yeah.
It wasn't even all like, right, okay, this is secondary progressive, this is what's going to happen. It was just, you're secondary progressive, you're not going to have any up and down, you're just pretty much going to go down. And that was really it.
Oh, wow. How did that feel when he said that?
It felt as if I'm going to go downhill tomorrow. It wasn't like, listen, this could take years. It was very, I felt like it was sort of motor neuron disease, like, well, you've got this now, so there's only one way, you've got 2 years left, that's it.
Steep hill.
Yeah. There was nothing. Again, it was like being thrown into the ocean without a life raft and saying, right, we'll swim now.
Yeah.
That must have been very scary.
Yeah, a little bit, yeah.
And what as well was I didn't go to that appointment that day. I think that's the only appointment I've ever not went to. And
I can't remember that.
Yeah, I remember it was in January, and I was it's in the month of January, and I was working, so I didn't go. And like I said, it's the only one that I didn't go to, but so we weren't really expecting it either.
Yeah.
You know, that was we were just unprepared, and then when Adam came home and said, it was a bit like, oh right. Okay.
Where do we go from here? What happens now?
And certainly, I was not expecting that for at least another good 10 years. You know.
Yeah.
I was, to be honest, I was never expecting it. I mean, I was expecting it, but I never thought, that won't happen to me.
Yeah.
You know.
And were you on any disease modifying treatment at the time?
You were DMT, so you were Tecfidera,
yeah,
for 18 months, and then Plegridy for another 18 months.
Oh, that was hell. That was hell. That Plegridy.
Yeah, that didn't work.
Yeah, that was I had to inject into
Yeah.
inject like a wee pen thing.
Yeah.
And it was okay to actually do that, but it was like however long later on it would sort of like kick in, and I'd feel like it was turning to stone. It was horrible. It was a horrible feeling.
Then moved on to Fingolimod, which is still on today.
Yeah.
So I think it was probably around maybe about a year and a half into Fingolimod, things had started to settle, and that was when the secondary progressive diagnosis came.
Yeah.
But I think looking back, from my perspective,
Pardon me.
in the run up to the doctor saying that, we'd sort of stopped the erratic pattern of relapsing. So Adam's relapsing remitting was highly active, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So life was a bit all over the place anyway with that.
Yeah.
But in the run up to getting the secondary progressive, things had started to plateau out a little bit, and it was more of a straight line.
Yeah.
So it's actually not a surprise now looking back. I think what I'm trying to say is, by the time secondary progressive came, we were already living it as a couple, as a family. Adam was already there. We'd already had some months practice, if you like, So, and you maybe won't agree with this, but for me, as a wife, I've found secondary progressive easier to manage because it's just more of a straight line rather than. It's really hard to live life when, one day you're up, next day you're down, one day you're up, one day,
sorry.
No, I was just going to say you can't have a lot of continuity with things, and you're even more all over the place. So the secondary progressive actually gave us stability to then start tweaking. Oh, right, okay, this works, this doesn't, this works, that sort of thing.
No, we've never actually spoke about that, about how secondary progressive made her feel, made me feel, but she's just echoed exactly what I thought. I was, well, at least I'm stable.
Yeah.
At least there's no up and down.
Yeah.
In a way, secondary progressive was actually better than
relapsing remitting,
because it's so unpredictable.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that might not be the case for everyone, obviously.
Yeah, but it was the case for me,
different.
Yeah. I've heard other people say it. I've interviewed a lady who said exactly the same thing. She just felt like it was more, she didn't like the ups and downs of RRMS and just thought that it was just too unpredictable to live life like that.
And it's harder to start, and again, everybody's MS is different, and it's all about sort of finding what works for you or what your MS likes or whatever. And it's much harder to do that when you're all over the place, is it because then you're sort of, was it because of this or that, or tired, or, so secondary progressive definitely lets you sort of home in on symptoms and what you need or what works for you a bit better. Can I just say I'm always like super paranoid talking about MS because I'm not the one that has it, but
but you've got the expert knowledge of looking at someone with it.
Well, it's not an expert knowledge, it's just living alongside it and sort of,
I would call that expert knowledge.
Seeing what works. But I'm always super paranoid because I don't want anyone ever to feel patronised or,
we are completely aware as well that everyone's MS is completely different.
Yeah.
So
that's definitely one thing we see from, we speak to so many people from our Instagram from all over the world. Some people for Adam, some people for me, just carers, people with MS, all stages of MS. And that's the thing, that everyone is just so different.
What I noticed was the amount of people out there that have got MS that have just left themselves. They've got no hope. They've nothing. And I think I'm so grateful for everything that I've got to help me get me through this. The support of everyone in the family. I
think, although, just to jump in on that, that's a really key part, is to try and find what works for you, though. You know, and it takes time to do that. That doesn't just happen. Adam wasn't diagnosed with MS and then the next year we just had everything together. It just doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
You have to go through all the process of everything to do with your acceptance and your grieving and your all the different
acceptance
parts to it.
The acceptance of MS came out the blue for me, because I never thought I would ever accept it. I was still clinging on to my healthy self, and I'm like, can I just go back to that guy?
Yeah.
And then one day it just, I don't even know how, I don't know how, I don't know what I was thinking. Just one day it just went, and that was it. And from that moment, I've never looked back.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've just, whatever shifted in my mind, it's shifted and it went away. And from that moment, I've lived my life like I don't have MS. Now, I don't mean like I'm running around like I'm a healthy person. I mean as in, like, I know I've got MS, but I don't think about it. I know it's there, but it's not at the front of my mind, it's at the back.
Yeah.
So I can focus on other things.
That's interesting. Do you think you started the Instagram account sort of as a result of trying to learn to cope with MS for both of you, or was there another reason why you decided to document your journey as such?
I think the main reason why we wanted to start it, well, I wanted to start it anyway, was because everything was just all doom and gloom. Everything was all, your life's over, you're this and that, I can't get out to the shop, I can't walk, I've got this new mobility aid, you know, and I thought, well, that's not my life right now. I know it could be, but it's not right now. So why don't we show?
Yeah, I think we were looking for a little bit of support for us. How do families cope? You know, what does a normal day look like? Even though Adam had relapsed and remitting for some time, it was second to progressive. We're going to bring some change, and when you're at that beginning, you don't know. I mean, it hasn't went like, you know, second to progressive, and then you're just going down this big hill. It's not like, well, it hasn't been like that for Adam. It's just been more of a steady pace. But at that point, you think possibly, oh gosh, we're just going to go off this cliff now. Yeah. So, you know, we need to start organising. Yeah. And so we went to Instagram to have a look at how do people live day to day? Like, how do they function when they come up against any kind of problem? You know, any kind of, you're out and all of a sudden you've got no energy left, you know, but you're in the middle of a shopping centre, or what happens when you can't get out of the car because you're just exhausted? Or we just wanted to see, like, how do people function when they do it? And we couldn't find what we were looking for. I'm sure it's out there, but at the time we just couldn't find what we were looking for. So we thought, well, we'll start a page and we'll just try and find it along the way.
Yeah, it was more for me. It was more like, what are the doctors and neurologists and the nurses and all that were saying? Well, that's all great, that's phenomenal, but you don't have the disease. I need to know from somebody who lives with it how they cope. Yeah. And it was more, I think, that really just.
Yeah, definitely.
Now, I have no idea if she's already just said that and I've just jumped in and said the same thing. So
we have this all day.
Yeah, I'm sorry if I have.
No, that's great. Sometimes, a lot of the time, one of the things that's memory for Adam is that's one of the things that's been a little bit affected in second to progressive over the course of these years.
Yeah.
It's not terrible, but it's a lot of the time that he forgets the sort of details. But it was definitely the practical side of things. And then you just, you know, it's like anything, you start connecting with. And when we first started, Adam did more. I'm definitely more. I'm now with the one with the camera, and it's because it's just easier. It's easier to try and get what we're trying to say across. But the MS community is amazing.
It's fantastic.
Absolutely amazing.
Fantastic community.
What you don't know, somebody will know. And
that's the nice thing about it. Isn't it? Have you been contacted by a lot of people that sort of struggle with coming to terms with like a diagnosis of progressive MS?
I would say so, but it's kind of mixed, really. But that's I would say it's sort of 50-50. There's a lot of people who are, how do you get there? And I'm like, well, I can't tell you how you get there. You just get there. You'll get there when you get there.
Yeah.
There's no path.
No.
Yeah.
A lot of people ask everything just about diagnosis, or they're just diagnosed and they're quite scared still, or they've got children, or they're just how trying to navigate through it. And so lots and lots of questions, and definitely lots of things about sexual progressive as well. And we hope that by showing each video that the questions of all of these topics are somewhere in the videos or things that we post, or so that people. I think this would be a fair statement to say that it's a real scary thing, obviously, for Adam. I have no idea how that feels, but it's also a just scary thing for a family and wives, partners, children, whatever. And that's one of the big things about our account as well, is to try and take that fear away.
Yeah.
Whether, it's Adam you're relating to, or whether it's me that you're relating to try and take that fear away that, okay, this is going on, but you don't have to answer everything today, And
there's still a life to be lived.
Yeah.
What I love about your account is that we quite often talk, like the MS Trust is here for people affected by MS. That is not just the people who live with MS themselves, but like yourself, Sharon. And I feel like that I like about your account is that you can really see that. It's quite often there will be an account that is just the person with MS or just the carer, but I love the sort of the unity of both of you, and I think it really shines through. So we're gonna make sure we link to your account as well.
My account is predominantly for MS. It was to do MS awareness. But yeah, you're right. It does covers a bit of everything.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Did you do anything sort of else when you first? Well, when you got the sort of second diagnosis, I guess we will say, with the SPMS, did you do anything else about it? Did you get any help, like any talking therapies or anything like that?
Nope, nothing. You've got MS. You've got secondary progressive MS. Go away. It wasn't until we started doing our own thing, or started looking into how other people cope, that this whole sort of, we realised there was a massive community out there of MS, so we were all thinking the same thing. Who were just, we've just all been left to fend for ourselves, really.
There's not much. I mean, there's not really been much suggested, or. Yeah, you're right. It's almost kind of like just go and sort of find your way and get on with it.
You've got MS now. Shut the door on your way out. Here's a pamphlet.
Yeah, that sounds really harsh, but
it does. But it's I mean,
like that. Yeah.
Yeah. It obviously depends on what doctor you've got.
Yeah.
Depends on their personality, how they deal with things.
Yeah. Yes, it certainly seems like such a varied thing. I mean, some people seem to be offered all sorts of, support afterwards, and there's mental support or what have you, but then other people do really seem like yourself, like it's just sort of been left to it, and it's difficult unless you're a very proactive person yourself, that you want to go out and get this. There
definitely was a time where I just wanted to lie in bed and bury my head in the sand, and if it wasn't for Sharon, we probably wouldn't be here. We wouldn't.
I think when Adam was diagnosed, I remember it was there was a couple of things. Adam's MS nurse is fabulous. She's still the same nurse today that was at diagnosis, so she's amazing.
Yeah.
And I do remember there was sort of made an appointment for physio and about diet, and have a wee look at this and that. And I personally feel like Adam wasn't even ready to even delve into any of that yet. It was still sort of what is even MS, certainly not ready for any kind of physio appointment, and so there was little bits there, but not anything really. I don't know. It depends on what's helpful to each individual. Me personally, or Adam, we would prefer to see people doing things, or the physical side of things, like do you manage or whatever.
It was really like, well, what do you want to know? Because there's a pamphlet. So
leaflet.
There's a leaflet for it, yeah.
And then when you're at the doctors as well, or the neurologist or the nurse, you're very much on a timer as well. You know, you can't just go in with.
Yeah.
Although they do generally try and throw us back out because
Yeah.
we're in there forever.
Yeah.
Chatting.
Yeah, she talks.
That's good. But sort of my last question, I guess, here then is, as you sort of more or less have to come to terms with it yourself, and you've had you have the Instagram account, and you've been thinking about things, and have you sort of learned anything or any tips that you'd like to share with other people who are worried about their MS progressing?
The one thing that I say what I would say to anyone who's newly diagnosed, it's going to be okay. You're going to be fine. Get to know the illness, get to know what type of MS you have and everything. Once you get that, it's just a different way of living life. You just have to find what way you have to adjust, and you can still live a great life. But don't be scared. It's not, I mean, it can be for some people, but please just don't be scared.
Mm.
And the practical tips, if I just jump in with the practical, I would say plan for everything. I mean, I'm a planner. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. That's me. Mm. So plan for everything. Plan for your worst days. I mean, you might never have them, and but you're as well to be organised for them. I mean, I think probably within 5 minutes of Adam being diagnosed, you know, we had a wheelchair, we had this, we had that, you know, and it may be extreme, but plan for everything. Get your ducks in a row for everything. Plan, you know, life can change tomorrow with MS, you know, this, you know yourself, and Adam knows, obviously, like, it could change in the next hour.
And also, sorry to jump in. Right at the beginning, where you're getting, here's your wheelchair, here's this, here's that. When I was getting these stuff delivered, getting the things delivered to the house, I was like, I don't need a wheelchair. I don't need a walker. I can still, all right, I might be a little bit stumbly, but I'm pretty okay. Mm. And I was thinking, you know, why are they delivering this just now? But it's for future, you know, you don't know what you're going to do.
It's good to be organised. I mean, how we work together is Adam obviously has MS. I have no idea how that feels, and I help to try and manage it almost like a business. That sounds ridiculous, but you get to know like what is good, and then I help support Adam to do these things just to keep him so that he can stay well.
How we actually work, and I think it's amazing how we work like this, is she tells me what to do and I do it.
Brilliant.
That's pretty much it.
But on a serious note, be practical. Get your ducks in a row. I mean, even people that are at the beginning, I can't be any more. Can't get my words out here. Strongly recommend, even a way back at the beginning when you're relaxing and remitting, and start thinking about what if just in case. And I know sometimes we can have a difference of opinion on that, you know, because you can't live life what if, but when you have this illness, you've got to prepare for that. I mean, we're in an adapted house now that we were away back, you know, this didn't happen last year, and then we just came here, you know, like this was in the planning for a long time. So I think what I'm trying to say is plan, get your ducks in a row just in case. Start thinking about how you would do that, and almost go through something just jumped into my head. That's why I've lost my train of thought, and it's a really funny story that I can't really tell you because it's.
You're going to tell because you've said it, so you need to tell it now.
No, see, yes.
That's how it works. Once you say something, you've got to say it.
No, sometimes
that's the law, isn't it?
We'll just talk about what if happened. Okay, you really want me to tell this story?
On you go.
I'm curious.
Okay, I'll tell the story. Okay, so Adam said to me one day, he was in the toilet and he shouted to me in while he was in mid-toilet and said, you might as well just come in and help. It was a joke, it wasn't funny, but it was just a sort of, I think what we're trying to say is we broke the barrier, like, should that ever happen, we've already broke the barrier with comedy chat about it. There was
Yeah.
no, it was just a sort of, do you want to come in and help me? Because one day you might be doing it, you know, I didn't, it's not.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Because you're confusing me because it's funny story. But yeah.
She's talking about wiping.
Yes.
And I think it would be funny to say, well, you know, you can have a practice run if you like.
So prepare for
Sure.
the occasion. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's a really, I mean, I'm just being silly here when I'm talking about that. But the point is, yeah, plan for all these things, talk about them, get rid of the stigma, how you're going to deal with them, what ifs, do all your what ifs, and yeah, just get your ducks in a row.
The way we deal with all that sort of stuff, because that kind of, if you need to be helped to clean up or anything, that can be soul destroying to some people. It can be really embarrassing. But the way we deal with it is just with humour, just laugh at it.
Just trying to get through. But it is important to be organised. And and that is whether it be mobility aids or thinking about mobility cars or housing or benefits or carers or any of that stuff. Like, definitely have all those conversations with all the people around you and have them now. Don't wait until, you know, oh gosh, we should have maybe got a walker now because Dad's really struggling or things. Get you know, have the conversations now. That would be my the practical one.
Yeah, she is.
That's a brilliant advice.
Can I just tell a quick funny story?
Oh, no.
Of course you can.
Right. There was one time.
I'm dreading what's going to come out.
You know what's coming out?
It's not that story.
Yeah, it's that story. Well, one time we were driving back from the shops and we were trying to go home and we were about 10 minutes away and I was really needing the toilet quite badly and I was shaking. And I was driving the car. I was still able to drive at the time, so I was still driving. I was shaking. And then Sharon was sort of started she started sort of finding it funny that I couldn't stop the car, you know, because
we're missing a key point here, Helena. It was a number 2.
Aye, number 2.
And he was starting to narrate it as if it was like a Grand National horse. So it was starting to. So I thought he was doing that and driving. I was starting to.
She was starting to laugh.
To laugh.
And we were going, and then all of a sudden there was silence. And I just said, "It's out!"
Oh dear.
And then she started laughing, and I don't think we stopped laughing that whole night. It was so funny. I mean, I know it happened to me, and people might not like it if it happens to them and stuff like that, but it was hysterical.
It was the funniest
and still
of our
the whole MS journey.
Our whole MS journey, and it will remain the funniest. And what made it funnier as well was when we got home. Your dad was visiting and we had a bit of a full house, so that made it even funnier.
Yeah, I'm trying to walk in.
So
trying to waddle into the toilet.
The worst moment of Adam and his MS actually is.
And everyone was there for it all. Everyone was there.
Everyone can share in.
Yep.
I think the thing is, though, the more we share stories like this, the more it normalizes when people do have those things happen to them and they feel really mortified about it. But actually, it happens to a lot of people, and you gotta, if you laugh about it, then it just feels better, doesn't it?
Yeah, I really believe laughter
is the best medicine.
Laughter is the best medicine, and there's a truth to that saying because it really is. Yeah. If you can laugh and if humour is something, you can get over anything.
We've laughed more with Adam having MS than we did before.
Yeah.
There's so many funny stories, you know, that we can tell that we won't.
You have to write a book.
We should.
You should.
Don't get any ideas.
Thank you so much for sharing your stories, and I'm sure we'll hear more from you. But thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, it's been good. I've liked this. I actually had a laugh.
Yeah.